Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Chilling Effect by Valerie Valdes. This is a pretty underrated series that I feel like a lot of people aren't gonna watch this video, but if you have, continue, especially if you make fan art. I want fan art for this series. This is the first book in an adult sci-fi space opera series. It follows the main character of Ava, who is descended from like Cuban Americans, because I don't think she grew up on Earth. I believe she grew up just in space. And she is a captain on a spaceship, and she is hauling cargo at the beginning of the story because she previously used to work in more like illegal activities, and she's trying to stay on the straight and narrow. But she finds out that her sister has been kidnapped by a criminal organization, like a very underground but very powerful criminal organization, and they are blackmailing Ava and her crew, but just really Ava because she can't tell her crew, into doing all of these really extreme, very dangerous missions. And everything goes from there as she tries to get her sister back. So first off, I'm gonna talk about the world building in this series and just this series in general. And I've said this a number of different places, so if you've seen me talking about this book, you've probably heard me say it, but this is the best way to describe it. It is Firefly plus the Wayfarers meets Mass Effect. So if you like the world building of the Wayfarer series with like all the different aliens and all the different worlds and all of that, that is present here, but this is a much more fast-paced story and like much more go, 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 like the world of Mass Effect. There are some things that are definitely like similar to Mass Effect, like it's not a ripoff of it, but like if you liked Mass Effect, you would probably like this with some of the plot points and characters and things. And then we just have some of the like goofiness maybe of Firefly and some of like the self-awareness. As I mentioned, there's like all these different aliens, all these aliens that aren't all humanoid. I love a sci-fi story that actually takes the aliens into an alien direction. So there's all these different aliens, all these different like political sort of like factions and different things having like a major impact. So there's a lot of that going on. This is not a politically driven sci-fi or anything like that, but it is like there's a lot of different moving pieces because we have a whole universe. There's also just like fun, weird stuff like psychic cats, which honestly are not enough of a part of this as they should be, but like psychic cats, dinosaurs that are sentient, like weird flora and fauna, like parasitic things that make alcohol, like truly wild. Next, we'll talk about our characters. Our main character of Ava, I like her, but I don't love her. She's basically a Shepard type character from, again, Mass Effect, but if Shepard was less successful on missions. Ava gets into a lot of trouble, fails a lot. What's nice about her though is she's a character solidly in her 40s, which I think is kind of cool. So we have this like character who is a full adult, not like a young adult in their 20s, and like has a lot of history and things like that. She also is like Cuban descent, so there's a lot of use of Spanish. I will say that I don't like necessarily how this is integrated a ton, because in a lot of other books, when other languages are used, you can infer from context sort of what is being said even if you don't know the language. Here there were a lot of like sort of back and forths in Spanish at certain points where it's like, I have to look this up to like know what's happening. So I wish when books did that, regardless of the language that it's in, whether you're reading a book in another language and they're talking in English or whatever, like this is not just about like an English versus Spanish thing, but I wish that books either did it with context, because then you can just like keep reading, it doesn't interrupt the flow and have to have you like look something up, or even like say what they're saying in like a footnote, or like repeating back like in their head in English something so that it doesn't ruin the flow. But there is like that element of her heritage. She talks about different like foods and things, uses cultural like slang and things. I also enjoy a lot of the side characters. She has like a nice little crew that is like a little bit tropey but in like a fun way. We have a pilot who like connects, you know, like this with like a port into the ship, but it's not like an AI or anything. We have like a medic who is her best friend. And then the other major character I would say is the engineer on her ship that she has like a little thing with, and he's fully an alien, right? Humanoid, but they even make a point to say like, you know, the pieces don't match up necessarily, right? This does not have alien porn, don't worry. But this does have like an alien romance. And again, Mass Effect comparison, but this is basically, this character is like Garrus meets Thane, who are two of my favorite male characters in the Mass Effect world. So I was like, oh my God. So I sort of love him. They sort of love each other. And the way that they have to communicate is different too, because of like, again, alien stuff. It's really great. I felt for them and their dynamic a lot. Lastly, I'm gonna talk about the plot. This is super fast paced. Just a lot is happening constantly. Things are constantly getting messed up because again, she gets in a lot of trouble. But this also feels almost like 2 or 3 books in one, honestly, because so much happens and so many like twists and turns, and like what you think is happening at the beginning of the story versus what is happening at the end of the story, and like a little bit of time jumps here and there, but nothing like too severe that really threw me off because I don't tend to love a time jump. So all of that was like really fun and fast paced. I will say there were some things about the writing that I like didn't love, which kept this from being like a higher rating. There are parts of the humor that are not to my taste. Like for example, she talks about farts a lot. I am not like a potty humor person. And it's not even necessarily always like a humorous thing, but just like the use of it as a descriptor is just like very odd to me. It tapers off, but that definitely happens. There's just some like awkward, like funny things sort of happening that again aren't quite to my humor. So I didn't love that. So some of the writing pieces kind of held this back for me, but ultimately I really dug this. Again, like a fun, rompy sci-fi space opera with character that is like trying her best, like a cute little romance that is like very interesting. And this is a series, so I do plan on continuing, but it's nice because it feels very like sort of episodic. So you're not having to like jump onto the next book right away. There's not a cliffhanger ending or anything here. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna continue with this series, but I don't want to read them back to back because the writing, I think that I would get like a little annoyed if I was reading them all like really close together. But for a fun little sci-fi break that feels like Mass Effect, you know how I love it so much, this is really great. And I think more people should read it. I think more people would like it. If you make fan art, draw the aliens because I can't quite picture what they look like. So if you've read this book or if you're gonna read this book now because I recommended it, comment down below and let me know. Thank you all for watching and I'll see all you guys soon. Bye.